Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
What's up, Butterfly?
Hey, Firefly, what's going on?
We have a rabbit hole today.
I know.
And I almost forgot what it was about.
I almost forgot too.
Why is that?
Because, are they erasing our memory?
I think they might be. Why would they want to do that?
Well, a lot of reasons, but I think the main reason is because if we don't remember our mistakes in history, we can't learn from them.
That's
and
right.
And we can't fix them.
That's right.
And, I think...
and also, we can contradict ourselves.
Exactly.
So they can tell us, no, we're deporting lots of illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
But then you can look and be like, wait, but there's like 80 million coming in.
Yeah, or it's always like whatever the story is, they, how they always have this like breaking news all the time?
Breaking.
And people seem to just kind of forget about like the breaking news from last week.
Yeah. That's another part of they're attacking our memory. And then remember I talked about how like if you go watch Citizen Kane, that movie from I think it came out in like the 1930s.
Yeah.
They had the opening scene where it's like 3 or 4 minutes without a cut.
Yeah.
There's like lots of things taking place. And then now you watch a movie and there's a cut, I think it's every like 2 seconds, sometimes 1 second.
Yeah, well you were talking about, was it the Bourne Identity and like the opening scene. And like I think a lot of the James Bond movies are like this too, but there's just...
But even like the older James Bond didn't have that many cuts.
No. It's the newer movies are like, there's so many cuts. I think...
It's jarring almost.
It's jarring, and this goes back to the whole thing that I keep saying where people have the attention span of gnats.
Yep.
But I think that's by design. I think they've created that.
We're conditioned.
We're conditioned in like all of these different ways, which is social engineering, and they're training us to have the attention span of gnats. Oh my God, epiphany.
Epiphany.
Oh my gosh. So could they be basically training us to have the attention span of gnats so that they can talk about or convince people that their kids have ADHD and get them on big shawarma?
That's one way. Totally. Because like if your kid can't pay attention to even like a few sentences of a conversation, you ever talk to one of these young people and they can't even listen to you for a few sentences?
Right.
They're all over the place, or they can't understand.
Yeah.
Like you go, wait a second, I just told you that. And they go, oh.
Well, I think it's because of all of these things, like the way the movies are done now, and all of the social media, like that's basically training people to be just scrolling and watching like these short little, TikTok videos. Like people have such short attention spans. They don't want to like watch like a long thing. They want to see something short.
I had another epiphany.
What? You had another one. Are you going to share mine?
Yeah.
You can share mine. That's
Your
okay.
epiphany kind of gave me epiphany. What, like, remember we were talking about demoralization?
Totally.
And demoralization is the first stage in communist takeover. And maybe having no memory allows people to do horrible things to you. And then you just go, wait, I forgot.
Totally.
I didn't even remember that you did those horrible things to me. Hey, how you doing?
So that's that's good that you brought up communism, because I was saying that they don't want us to learn from our mistakes, so we can't like learn from history and like fix things. So that I think people forget that communism is not, it never works out. It's not a good thing.
Totally.
And so they want people to just forget everything, basically.
Well, because if you forget everything, then I remember I got a new job one time, and I had done sales already for years before that. But then the guy told me, he goes, just forget everything you've ever learned and just do things my way.
Oh, God.
And maybe that's what is conducive. If you're Dory and you don't remember anything other than the last 5 minutes, then they can just go, what's the problem with your communist prison? And you'll be like, I forgot. I knew I didn't like it for some reason, but I think I kind of forgot what happened.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
Well, gosh, there's so many problems with this this agenda, because I think it's also it's like, how we talk about people being like somatized?
Yeah.
So in Brave New World, that book Brave New World, the people were all given this drug every day.
That's right.
Their soma.
That's right.
And it was to keep them like calm. So
keep them from getting agitated.
They would get agitated.
That's it.
And we've kind of mentioned the idea that, is it possible that they're somatizing people in various ways, like with Starbucks maybe, or fast food, and also like the sprays that they're spraying on us in the sky?
Totally.
Could people be like being somatized?
It's almost like lobotomized.
Yeah.
Because what's going on is you're rendered into this state like a walker, and walkers, they don't really have any recollection of the day before.
No.
So because of that, they don't build up a resistance to the culture club. I think that's what it is.
That's what it is.
In order to resist the culture club, you have to have memory.
You do, because you have to remember the horrible things that they did.
Yeah.
So you like don't want them to do it again.
Or another thing too, like I have a kind of long memory. Like if I start boycotting a certain company, I'll remember why I'm boycotting them, even from years ago.
Well, that's actually really good. And we kind of had this conversation about a week or so ago, and you reminded me of that actually, because I told you there was there were a few things that I boycotted during Cooties, but there was a local restaurant in town that I found out was like super woke, and they were demanding their employees to get the pokey pokes, and they were like total commies during the whole thing. And so I boycotted that place, and that was one of our favorite restaurants that we went to a lot. And I'm like, I'm not going to eat there anymore.
Totally.
And I didn't eat there for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. But then, like, I kind of started to forget about it. And one day I was talked into going there for lunch. I was talked into it, and I was like, I really don't want to go there. And I went, and it was really good. And then I was like, then we went again, and I kind of forgot about it. And I totally forgot about that. And I had boycotted Amazon too during Cooties. I didn't shop it from Amazon.
Convenience makes you forget a lot.
It does. I probably didn't shop on Amazon for a good 2 or 3 years too. And then the convenience, that's what gets people. And it sucks because we got to stick to these things.
I stick to them. Yeah. I kind of have a long memory, and I think it's just because I'm kind of a hateful person. But
not you, Firefly.
A little bit. Like, for instance, like if people are lame, I kind of hate. Like, for instance, there's this one smoothie place in town, and during Those People Lives Matter, they had Those People Lives Matter flyers on their bulletin board in their little restaurant.
Lame.
And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are never going to be cool in my book.
No.
Because that is a German Shepherd moment.
Yeah.
A German Shepherd moment is something you never forget.
Right.
Like if you walk in on Nancy and her German Shepherd is going,
doing nasty.
You're not going to forget that.
No.
Like probably ever.
No.
You know? So that's why it's important to have memory.
Exactly.
Because if someone has a German Shepherd moment, you need to remember that, because otherwise you're going to get duped.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to learn from your mistakes and to learn from the mistakes that are, like played on you. Like if somebody does you wrong, you kind of need to learn from that, because
what does the old saying say? It says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Why is it shame on me?
Because you should have learned your lesson.
I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I forgot, or maybe I remembered, but I just kind of turned the other cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Now, turning the other cheek is, in the Christian sense, is good for forgiveness, but you don't turn the other cheek in terms of getting duped by a person again.
Right.
And the Culture Club is constantly duping us.
That's the problem. So I'm kind of like I've allowed myself to be fooled twice, several times.
Yeah.
Because I do like to forgive people and forget, but twice is my limit. After twice, I'm like, that's a pattern. That's a pattern. You're going to keep doing it. And I think with the Culture Club and, the government, the media, they are constantly fooling us. And some people just don't seem to learn. Like they just are, I don't know, they're somatized and they forget about it.
I was like that with Alex Jones, where I kind of saw like subtle things where I was like, that's weird. Mm-hmm. That's weird. But I was just like, oh, yeah, no. That's it. But then finally, I think, remember that one day I finally got over him?
Yeah.
Because he was talking about how well endowed he was for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, you were so bugged with that.
I was. That was like, ugh. But then the other thing he did was he goes, no. You don't understand. Me, Trump, and Elon are in the way. These people are coming to get you.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when I was like, dude, this guy's controlled opposition. But see, if you don't have any memory,
you don't learn from that.
You'll just go, oh, he's popular.
Yeah. So this is the problem, and this is what's happening. And I think, I think for a lot of people, this might be an epiphany.
Epiphany.
I think the main way they're doing this is basically MK Ultra. It's trauma-based mind control on a mass scale.
Totally.
They traumatize people to the point where they're just like, they kind of whip the population into a frenzy like every day with the headlines. You know what I mean?
And that's interesting that you bring that up, because that makes me think about Kathy O'Brien. Mm-hmm. And remember, Kathy O'Brien was talking about how when you get traumatized, so in the MK Ultra program, they would rape and torture like 5-year-old girls.
Oh my God.
I know. That's why when you talk about MK Ultra, you need to talk about it with the weight that it deserves. Because people kind of throw the term around like it's cool or something.
Yeah.
You have to remember that MK Ultra, the research was predicated around torturing and raping children and then going, good.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. Oh, cool. When you rape and torture somebody, they compartmentalize the trauma, which means that they kind of forget about it. Mm-hmm. They kind of put it into a part of their psyche that is hidden.
Right.
And when she got rescued out of the program, one of the things that she had to do to therapeutically recover from her trauma was accessing memories. And she had to write down her memories. Mm-hmm. So I think the Culture Club very much is using MK Ultra, and one of the main functions of MK Ultra is erasing your memory.
Totally.
Because that way the trauma lives inside of you, but you're not actively remembering it, and now they can control you because you haven't accessed that memory. Maybe that's it.
Exactly. They can traumatize people with like all these scary things that are happening every day, and they announce them on the news and make everything sound so horrible. and then, you know, like a few days later, there's some other horrible, scary thing. And so it's like, how much trauma can one person take? You know what I mean? And then you start to forget the other previous scary thing. And with cooties, it was cooties every day. Mm-hmm. So it was drilled in, like brainwashing, literally. And that was the scary thing that was happening every single day. So they weren't going to let people forget about it. That was terrifying. Everybody was dying, and you got to go get your pokey and wear your mask because, you know, but with like most of the things, they want you to move on to the next thing, you know, so.
They want you to forget so you can function.
Yeah.
Because I think people get so terrified they can't really function. So they just go, just forget about it. Mm-hmm. Just be Dory.
Yeah.
You know?
We talked about that in our Dory episode.
Yeah.
Finding
Groundhog
Dory.
Day.
Well, was it Groundhog Day or did we have a separate episode about Dory? I think we did.
We might have.
I think we did. Where we talked about how people are like Dory, like they just can't remember like from day to day or even from 5 minutes ago. We
brought it up recently.
Yeah.
Because remember the Good Samaritan?
Yeah.
So the lesbian who's told Ice, you guys just get out of here.
Yeah.
So that was right in the wake of the fraud in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. So there's this widespread fraud. And so Satan goes, oh, darn it, I don't want all that fraud to come out right now. I know what we'll do.
We'll have a crisis.
We'll have a lesbian shooting, and she'll just get mad at Ice, and then that will be such a spectacle that people will completely forget about the fraud.
Yeah, and they did.
They kind of did.
Nobody was talking about that anymore.
Not really.
Yeah.
It immediately goes to the new shiny object.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then you know what I think they do just to kind of seal the deal? Like one crisis or traumatic event isn't enough because maybe people will be like, yeah, that's really sad and horrible, but remember the fraud? So then they come out with a new thing because wasn't it just like a week later that pretty boy got shot in was Minneapolis too, right?
It was Minneapolis too.
Yeah, so everybody could be like, oh my gosh, you know, what's happening in Minneapolis?
And people forget that.
Yeah.
They see something like that happen in Minneapolis, and because they have the memory of a gnat, they don't remember that that's where those people lives matter took place.
Right.
And where Porge Boyd was. Because you know, that's the reason all this stuff happens in Minneapolis is because they have that little gay mayor from that country from 1948 and that little gay governor. And what I'm starting to realize is when they have their puppets in place, then they can use that as a breeding ground. You know where they do that is in Ukraine. Because now with these Epstein documents, weren't you saying that Melania was basically sex trafficked out of the Ukraine, and that's how Trump met her?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you were kind of...
But that's a good one.
Because she's from Ukraine.
That totally makes sense.
And who runs Ukraine? It's Zelensky.
Yeah.
And he hangs out with Bono, and they play guitar.
With their penis?
He plays the piano with his penis, but Bono wasn't there for that.
The guitar might be tough.
Yeah.
might be painful.
The strings kind of hurt. Yeah, the keys are nice and they're ivory and smooth. But Zelensky is obviously total controlled by the Culture Club.
Yeah.
And what I think that allows is when they have one of their puppets running a country or a city, like in Minneapolis, they can execute all their evil stuff.
Yeah.
So in Ukraine, they've got a bunch of BSL-4 biolabs.
Right.
And they do huge sex trafficking.
I think Ukraine's got a lot of like weird evil stuff going on.
Yeah.
Sex trafficking, and then there seems to be a lot of orphanages and
you
know, children that seem to be orphans over there.
Which I think is a huge sex trafficking ring.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is in Minneapolis, they've been able to, because they have Waltz and what's that little gay mayor's name? It's, I can't remember his name. I'm glad I don't remember his name, because that's good, because he would be stoked if I could remember his name. I remember Good.
Good.
Her name's Renee Good.
Yeah.
I'll always remember that.
And pretty boy.
I forget his first name.
We don't need to know his first name.
Doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I saw something coming out with him, and his backstory is totally sus.
Yeah.
We can do another episode on that. But the reason I bring it up is because when they put a puppet in place in charge of an area, then they can go and do all of their fraud in there, and all of their scams.
Because nothing ever gets uncovered, or like nobody ever gets punished.
And that's why it's important to have a memory. Because if you have a memory, you're not going to ever hear Zelensky come out and think he's a good guy.
No, because you're going to remember that he was an
actor
that played the piano with his penis.
And that's easy to forget.
Yeah.
You kind of do want to wipe that from your memory, but you want to, memory is long, and you want to have memory. Like, I always say, you want to forgive and forget, but you don't forget. You want to forgive, but not
don't
forget.
Right.
Because if you forget, then you're going to get duped by these people again.
Exactly.
And I think maybe that's why the nature of this episode is the Culture Club erasing our memory through conditioning.
Yeah, through conditioning. And also, you had mentioned, like, what we're talking about with all the chemicals and stuff. It's like, people are chemically and metaphysically demoralized. Right?
That's right.
And what you were saying is demoralization is sort of the starting point for communism.
Let's unpack demoralization, because I think it's really important
big.
for right now.
Yeah.
What happens when you're demoralized is your oppressors can just show you how they're oppressing you, and you resign to it out of fear.
Yeah, you don't even fight back.
Because you're just like, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I'm just completely demoralized.
And
we have to snap out of that.
So, you know what? I heard something recently that there's a study that showed that half the population is only half awake most of their lives, meaning like half of the people are basically not even really paying attention to what's happening. They're sort of on like autopilot.
Totally.
And they're just kind of going through the motions of their daily lives without even really, like, they're almost like not even really conscious of what they're doing most of the time.
And you can see that in the way people drive.
This is what we refer to as walkers.
And the way they drive.
Yeah.
Like, I drive around here and
It's
I'm like,
dangerous.
oh my God.
It's
so
dangerous.
There's two things that they have going on when they drive. They've got their head lodged up their ass, so they have no situational awareness, but they're also completely inconsiderate.
So inconsiderate.
So that's the lull that they get into.
Yeah. I think one of the, this also always makes me think of the book 1984.
Yep.
Because in that book, that was such a good depiction of like really kind of what is happening, and they want people to just forget common sense and forget what they learned, and they're rewriting history. I mean, we're seeing that today. They actually rewrite history. It's like we have memory police.
Totally.
Memory police. We're even if we remember something that happened, they have a way of like rewriting it so that they sort of change the story, and then the people that tell it the way it was are labeled as crazy or conspiracy.
You know who I think about is Rasputin. Rasputin was this awesome dude, and he was a mystic that was in the inner sanctum of the Tsar Nicholas, and his wife, the Tsarina.
Mm-hmm.
And he was praying for their son, who was a hemophiliac, and healed him of his hemophilia, and was advising the Tsar to not get involved in World War I, which was going to be bad for Russia. And the Bolsheviks that orchestrated the Bolshevik Revolution they vilified him throughout history. So they erased all memory of him that was good, and they any depiction of him in history books is that he was evil.
Okay, so I've seen this a few times where they talk about somebody in history, and like this is happening recently where they now they've changed like the holiday we used to have that was Columbus Day.
Yes.
Now they're making him out to be kind of a villain because they're saying that he I guess was bad to
he oppressed the third world barbarians.
Yeah, the Indians or the Native Americans or whatever. And remember a few years ago, it was sort of like maybe during the Cooties fiasco, there were all these towns that were tearing down statues, historical statues.
Totally.
And that even happened in our town.
Yep.
They took down a
Father Junípero Serra.
Yeah, a famous statue of the guy that he was the founder of our town, I believe.
Totally. The mission was the only thing here.
Yeah, and because supposedly he, like, I guess was maybe, they were saying he was oppressive to the native people, and I don't think those things are true. I think they rewrite these stories and they change our views so that, they're telling us what the way it was, and that might not even be the way it was.
I'm starting to think they're doing that with Hitler.
I was just going to say Hitler. What about Hitler?
Because maybe they tell us what they tell us, but maybe that's all a bunch of lies.
Yeah, maybe that's not the truth. And I was actually talking with my mom this morning because we were talking about something, and somehow, the people from that country from 1948 came up, and she said, well, they've been treated badly. And I said, well, and she said, but they think that they're God's chosen ones, and I don't think God does that. And I said, I don't think God does that. Why would God choose one group of people over the other people? God loves everybody, right? Yeah. And didn't they kill Jesus?
They killed Jesus. That's right.
Did everybody forget about that?
They forget about that.
So that's a major big deal. And
they got really mad at Mel Gibson apparently for making The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
That put him as a blackball in Hollywood because it very clearly depicts how wicked the Jews were when they killed Jesus.
So then it starts making me wonder, like, maybe, they did that, which was horrible, and it's documented. And so I guess, is it true? I don't know. They don't even deny it, right? They don't deny that.
Well, they can't deny it because the Bible talks about it, and they haven't been able to just go and omit the Bible. So the Bible talks specifically about how they had Pontius Pilate release Barabbas, who was a murderer, and they said, crucify Jesus. And he said, but what has he done? And they just said, crucify him. And he goes, but I don't see anything wrong with this man. And Pontius Pilate, who was the Roman governor, who was the final say, he washed his hands. And he says, I don't find any guilt with this man. And they said, his blood be upon us and our children forever. That's what they screamed out in the mob to have Jesus get crucified. They don't want you to remember that. So
is that where the you've washed your hands of this came from?
He literally washed his hands in front of the mob, and he said, I am not guilty of this man's blood, because his wife had a dream about Jesus being the Son of God, and she said, I'm scared of what you're going to do to this man. I'm scared for you and me because of what you're about to do. And so Pontius Pilate got scared.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty cool story. So, like, they did some bad stuff, and so maybe...
Well, with Hitler, it pertains because have you ever watched Europa? It's kind of a long documentary series.
No.
You can watch it, mostly you watch it on BitChute.
Oh, okay.
Because it's gnarly. But it basically talks about all of the lies that we got told about Hitler. And one of the things it talks about, it's a really rich history. It talks about how from World War I to World War II, the Jews around the world declared war on Germany. And they began to financially hurt them and boycott them and do like embargoes. So they destroyed the economy in Germany. And what Hitler did was when he came to power, all he did was the first two things that he did. And the people from that country from 1948, they admit this is true. He made pornography illegal, and he made usury illegal. You know what usury is?
Why don't you explain it?
Usury is when you lend money with interest. So one of the things that those people from that country from 1948 do is called fractious lending. And so what they'll do is they'll loan you $100 and they'll say, okay, yeah, but good. So because I gave you $100, now I can lend another $900 on the promise that you're going to have to pay me interest. And so what they end up doing through just that simple process is they end up making the entire country, including the rulers and the military, indebted to them. And they take over like that. So they had done that to Germany. And if you listen to like historical accounts about Weimar, you ever heard Weimar Republic and Weimar Germany? That was when this the very first institute of trannies was. They invented trannies. And Berlin back in the 30s, like in the 20s, became this hotbed of degeneracy and debauchery. It was disgusting. There was homosexuality everywhere and just blatant debauchery. And so when Hitler came in, what Europa says is he was not a bad guy at all. He instilled Christian values and family values into Germany again, and they started to thrive. And the Olympics were held there in 1936, and Germany was the strongest economy in the world. Just prior to World War II. So the people from that country from 1948, they convinced our government to go and attack them. So that is a complete rewriting of history from the mainstream narrative.
And I've heard,
and that's an erasure of our memories.
There's this guy who I've seen interviewed on Stu Peters a few times, who has like it's like an encyclopedia of the Holocaust or something.
Oh yeah, I've seen that guy.
And he has all this documentation about like the numbers that don't add up. Like they talk about like these 6 million people that were, was it 6 million?
Yep.
They say were murdered.
They call it the Holocaust.
And like that they didn't even have that many people in the area at the time. And and then he points out the all of the evidence that shows that like these, gas chambers like didn't even exist. Like they weren't even. There's no way they would have functioned the way that they've been described.
And the numbers don't add up because there's no way even physically possible to burn to death that many people. And then the other thing that was really weird is 6 million. That number shows up in periodicals and news articles all the way back to like when Marx, back in like the 1840s. So remember we talked about how certain words and certain numbers are loaded,
right?
And they have power over people. I think 6 million might be one of those numbers that it has sway over people. So they use that specific number several times as a manipulation.
So how do we know, like, the way they rewrite history, basically doing it in real time too, just like in that book in 1984. Remember he worked at the
Ministry of Truth.
And he was basically putting out the newspaper. They would have to shoot. I have this image of like him putting up the information in this chute, like how the banks used to would go through the drive-through and it would suck it through the tube. It sounded like that because when he wrote this book they didn't have the internet where you could just put something out there and it would go like where it needed to go, so that was like high tech for him. But he had to rewrite history day by day, minute by minute. And it's like they're doing that right now.
Oh, totally.
Because I see them, we see something happening and then they're literally like rewriting the story. Like that's how I woke up to the whole Porch Boyd incident.
Porch Boyd.
Yeah, because I saw the video of like the 20-minute video showing like a lot of the whole thing happen, and then the story they were telling on the news was completely not right.
That is such a crystal clear example of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So remember in the wake of the Porch Boyd, those people lives matter. Remember all those people kneeling?
Yeah.
And they all took a knee and said, white people are bad, we're sorry, we're white. Well, they had to have the memory of a goldfish, because it was just 2 weeks before that the body cam footage came out showing the cops handling him with kid gloves for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and he was in the back seat screaming, I can't breathe, and nobody was even touching him.
The door's wide open.
Yeah,
if you can't breathe, it's because you're having a fentanyl overdose, dude.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wait a second. Like the guy was literally sitting by himself in the back seat screaming.
You literally got red pilled that
I
time.
got so red pilled when I saw
because
that.
that's a red pill moment.
Yeah.
Because once you see that, now suddenly you see everything else differently.
Yeah, because I saw that, and then I saw MSNBC literally saying the cop was choking him, and they had remember people were wearing t-shirts saying I can't breathe and all this stuff, and I'm like, that is like BS, because he was sitting in the back seat. I saw him sitting in the back of the car by himself yelling, I can't breathe.
You know what it reminds me of? People are willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Because the evidence was clear that was not a murder. That wasn't police brutality.
Yeah.
And the people that went along with all of those people lives matter, they were willfully ignorant because they hated it so much. So that's a perfect synopsis. Now, what's the white pill for this episode then, Butterfly?
Well, I have another little thing I want to point out though, which is
before the white pill.
Before the white pill. The strange thing about history though is, and I think I've mentioned this before, everybody's going to have a different account of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's also the problem with certain things. Now, like that incident, when you can see something happening and you have video of it happening and it's very clear that it happened in a certain way, then there's the way it happened, and then there's the lies of what they say how it happened. So that's cut and dry. That's black and white. But there's also things where people are going to have different versions. Like, it makes me think about cooties, because if you talk to like one of us and we tell the history of cooties and how it was all a scam and how they were just making all this stuff up, which was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
That's going to be the history that we tell people, and that's the way it happened. But if you talk to some person that actually believed that everybody was dying, like I'm talking like, say 40 years from now, you're talking to your grandchildren. And if we were talking to our grandchildren, we would tell them it was all made up. It was a hoax. They were trying to get everybody to get these pokey pokes, and they were trying to control people. But if you talk to like a liberal person that was all gung-ho for cooties, they're going to tell their grandchildren that there was a terrible pandemic that everybody was dying from. And, you know what I mean?
And what sucks about that is then things take, there's different weight placed on the mainstream narrative versus what your grandma tells you.
Exactly.
Because then some kid's going to be like, well, grandma's kind of weird because the TV told me different, and I'm going to believe the TV.
Yeah.
Because people are inclined to do that.
They are.
They're inclined to believe that because it's on TV, it's probably more credible than what this person's telling me.
Or because, that's such a good point, or because that person's wearing a white coat and he's got a stethoscope around his neck. I'm going to believe that person.
Well, remember I told you about that Milgram experiment.
Yeah.
In Stanford back in the 1950s. And what they would have was the guy in the lab coat would tell the one dude who wasn't part of the experiment, administer enough electric shock to kill him. Mm-hmm. And 75 to 80% of the people would do that just because somebody in a lab coat told them to.
Right.
So there becomes these authoritative sources that take the precedence, and they have all the weight, and they suck up all the air in the room. So you're not allowed to disagree with them, even though it's full of lies. And even though the lies are so blatant, people still gravitate towards that mainstream narrative.
Yeah.
And now, if it's taught to you in school, if it's on TV, if it's, on these very prominent news channels, then it's real.
Right. So that's why, it's important to keep talking to your children too. And
that is white pill.
And yeah, I think that might be the white pill, because the blue pill subtracts your memory.
Yes.
It totally subtracts your memory, and people become jaded and numb. And I think the white pill is, we have to remind ourselves kind of constantly about these things that they're trying to make us forget, and talk to our children about the truths that are happening, and to constantly kind of keep reminding them to question whatever they're being taught in school, because what we're learning that so much of what we were taught in school is a lie. I mean, basically, I almost think that we can't really believe anything except math and language, learning a foreign language. It almost,
anything we got taught about history.
It almost seems like all that other stuff is a lie.
And science.
Science. It's
all lies. Like what I noticed with my daughter, she's 18. Even though she gets annoyed with me because of my conspiracy theories, at least now I've planted a seed where when she gets told a fact, she's going to go, my dad doesn't believe that. And if that's a victory,
she'll at least have a question about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
She'll be like, my dad doesn't buy that. I don't know, but my dad doesn't buy that. So that's good. At least she's going to question it. Mm-hmm. Whereas what you got to be careful is these days, people raise their kids by just, from the time they're in their crib, putting an iPad in front of them.
I know.
Which I did. But I talk to my daughter every day. So I teach her. But a lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. And they just let the media and the school raise their kid. Mm-hmm. That you got to be careful of, because if you just let your kid implicitly trust in the culture club, they're going to get blue pilled.
Totally.
So the white pill for this episode, talk to your kids. Always be talking to them, asking them, what'd you learn today? And what I like to do is I don't tell, I just question. I ask questions. Mm-hmm. Like when my daughter was reading that book, The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah. She was like, well, it's this very patriarchal culture, and the patriarchy runs everything, and women basically are slaves, and they just have to they can barely survive, and they just get tortured to death all the time. And I said, now, do you think that the person writing this book is writing that so that you'll have that kind of takeaway? And I totally made her go back, and she went, maybe. I didn't think about that. So that's what your job is as a parent, is make your kids go, wow, I didn't think about that. Because what they're getting taught in schools, it's kind of like controlled opposition. This is the thing that's kind of interesting, is there's truth, lies.
Exactly.
So they're going to be like, well, this is true and this is true. And you go, yes, but this key lie is big. Yeah. And it's going to make your worldview wrong. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to push back against the right people. Mm-hmm. So that's one white pill. The other white pill too is you got to get red pilled. Yeah. You have to get red pilled. Yeah. And we have to red pill as many people as we can. And the only way that we can is to just keep telling our truth and talking. Yeah. Because if we allow sharing our episodes,
share it with a friend.
If we allow the culture club to suppress us and censor us, then everyone's going to get blue pilled. Yeah. And then we're all dead.
And then everybody's Dory, and people don't remember yesterday.
Yeah. Now there's some times where that's kind of good, but it's not healthy. It's not safe.
No.
Anything else on this one?
No, I think that was good.
That was so good.
I hope people remember to
yes,
to share our episodes.
Remember, don't get
right?
doried.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.